again, and welcome back to yet another video. A little bit delayed, admittedly. Been having some technical difficulties. Basically, iMovie hates me. No, it doesn't really hate me. There's just never enough space for me to import the videos. But it's mainly my own fault because I am a hoarder, both in real life and digitally, because I can't delete anything. So I just basically have no space left on the computer. Before you say it, I've bought an external hard drive. I've got one. I just need to actually move the things. But even when I move them and back them up onto the external hard drive, I'm still paranoid that the external hard drive will break. So I just have copies of everything on it, but I still have the originals on the computer, which completely defeats the point. But anyway, forget about that. Jumping into what's actually going on. Today I am drawing Amandla Stenberg. I was just scrolling through my Instagram feed and there was this image that you see on the left and I just thought it was super cool. It's a magazine cover she did for ASOS, but I thought it was beautiful and the colours were beautiful. Like obviously she's a beautiful girl, but I just thought the picture was really nice and I was like, I want to try and draw that. Let's see. But as you can see, I didn't actually draw it. I traced the image because I wanted to focus on the actually painting and trying to get better at doing skin tones and understanding like how I need to work to, create what I see. Trying to learn to trust my eyes and see, take in what they're showing me and replicate that in color. So that was quite difficult at times, where I would think in my head I could see green in the eyeball, like in the white bit of the eye, and I'm like, but that's crazy. There's no green in her eye. But I had to allow myself to, pick the shade of green that I could see and put it down on the page, to see how it would come out. And of course, it came out not right. I mean, it's not perfect, but it came out very close to the photo because I had to allow myself to choose things that I thought were wrong, but really I just didn't even know what I was seeing. Like my own head was betraying me, if that makes sense. So that was kind of what this drawing was an exercise in. I wanted to try for a kind of semi-realism, not crazy realistic, because I still don't like smoothing things out to the maximum, mainly because I can't do it. And also because I like the kind of painterly style where you can still see the strokes. It kind of makes me feel like I'm painting in a sense of a traditional painting that I can, see where the brush has been and see all of the, times you went over a certain area. I like being able to see that in digital paintings. So that's why I kind of went in this kind of style. So the eye, that was the first eye that you saw that I posted a little sneak peek of. At this point, there was literally nothing else. It was just that eye. And I was like, hey, that eye's okay, isn't it? And I was very concerned I wouldn't be able to replicate it on the other side, which you can see it was quite a struggle to try and get them the same. I was like focusing on the left and I was like, oh no, but you need to zoom out and make sure it matches the right eye. So there was a lot of in and out, in and out. Sorry if you're kind of getting motion sickness there. Bear with me. So yeah, I just been shading and using this color technique you can see on the right. I saw it in another YouTube video. I forget who it's by. Forgive me, I'll probably link it down below in case anybody is interested in seeing what the person did themselves. They did it in a much more, kind of articulate way, better than me. But they kind of like laid out all of the primary colors and black and white, and then used those to make every shade that they made, which I was like, how is that possible to even do that? I don't really know much about color theory. I kind of can't explain mainly why I do the things that I do. I just feel like they're the right thing to do, and then I do them. But when it comes to picking colors, I could never explain why I would pick a certain color. It just felt kind of right. But I know there's a whole science about it with correlating colors and companion colors and contrasting colors, and there's all these rules that you're supposed to follow, but I don't even know what they are. So that will be something I'll probably look into over the course of, trying to get better and improve. Because color is obviously a huge part of that. There's the green bit in the eye I was talking about. Like to me, it just seems so crazy to put green there, but that was the right thing to do in this case, and it made it seem more really three-dimensional when you zoomed out. So yeah, it was a very interesting time in that sense. So I'd say this piece was done over the course of about maybe 4 or 5 hours. Up until this point had been like maybe 2 hours one day, And then the other evening, I wanted to keep going with it because I wanted to see if I could match the other eye and, finish it off because I was really enjoying doing it. And I started maybe at like 10 at night, and then I looked up again and it was midnight, and I looked up again and it was like 2. So actually, no, that's like 6 hours, isn't it? Yeah, 5, 6 hours roughly this took. Um, Hence why it's such a long YouTube video. Apologize for that. That is pretty long. I understand if you can't be asked to stick around the whole time, you can just skip to the end. It's basically a lot of this smoothing and going over and brushing. Gonna go onto the nose next. If you're not a fan of noses, just mosey on through. You don't have to stick around. So here I was just trying to create the shape of the nose with the kind of, painterly style I was trying to do, but without making too much, what am I trying to say? Without having it look like there was a million strokes in there, like, which there were, but I realized that that wouldn't look as nice on the nose, seeing as in the picture it's very smooth. It's kind of the only thing that's really defined about the face is her features. Like, there's not any like real focus on the skin. The skin just looks smooth and flawless. So I was just trying to translate that into the image. And noses really aren't my forte in general. If you ask me my favorite features to draw, they would be the eyes and the mouth. I don't get along with noses. I refuse. They're just really annoying. I don't even know why they bother me so much. Them and hands, noses and hands. Maybe those would be the main things that most artists would say. I don't think I've come across anybody who says they like drawing noses. But obviously people do. I just don't know them. So noses is something I need to get better at. This turned out okay, like with, again, trusting my eyes, using red in the nose, which felt crazy wrong. And to make the shape of it, it worked out all right. I started to go in with the hair just to give, to show my eye where everything was. So that's what I began doing here. And I coloured it in blue because there was a lot of blue hues in the picture, and I wanted to kind of make it more blue, her hair. But then I quickly realised I didn't want to do the hair right now because it was going to be a massive undertaking. So instead I moved on to the lips. Lips are really fun. I really enjoyed doing them. They were always my favourite thing to do traditionally. I kind of learned how to draw them from one of my favourite artists called Zindi D. Nielsen. And she used to have these tutorials on her website. This is like back in, I don't even know, 2005. And I would just like practice and practice drawing lips like over and over and over again to try and make them look like how she drew lips. And I guess that kind of stuck with me. I always colour in lips like this same way. So this was my first time actually colouring them in digitally and it looking all right. I was quite pleased with how they came out. So that's what I'm working on now. Adding in all the different tones of her lips, because there were quite a few in there. Like at first I was like, oh yeah, pink lips, pink lipstick, but there's kind of skin tones in there because it's like faded towards the bottom and darker around the edge. There's probably like a lip liner in there. Also the natural shadow because of the form of the lips, the highlights from the light and the sun, and yeah, there's just a lot to consider. The teeth, also huge struggle. I hate teeth and colouring in teeth. They always look freaking wrong. And putting this glint of yellow in the teeth was bothering me for such a long time until I kind of did it all and then zoomed out and I was like, oh my gosh, it kind of looks like how it's supposed to look. But at first I was like, yellow in teeth, the teeth are going to look like they're rotting. I obviously don't want her to look like she's got rotting teeth. That's not the aim. But you can see, like, as you zoom out and like as you go over it kind of looked better and better. And so here I was just adding a bit more detail on the lips and putting in the lines to show the texture even more and make it seem more three-dimensional, curving them and following the contours that the lips would have. And so that was quite cool, quite fun to do. Just moseying around here, adding more definition. Here I was just smoothing out areas a bit more where the blusher was and the shading on her cheeks. And she looked a little bit like she'd been injured at first. So just smoothing it out made it look a bit more like it was there on purpose and it was just a natural gradient, natural hue. And then I moved on to shading in the neck, which was really quite a challenge because I haven't had to pay attention to anything like this in so long, like how the light hits a certain area of the skin. Like usually I just do a face and then I move on. and I get bored and I stop. But because the face had actually turned out so well, like surprisingly well, I didn't want to let it down with the neck and with like the clothes. I haven't rendered clothes in a very long time, let alone jeans, a jeans jacket kind of material. I had no clue how to even begin on that. I started going in with the same technique of which I did in the face, but it just seemed really flat to me. So I tried out some different brushes to kind of bring a bit more texture to it, because at the moment I think it just looked the same as the face did. It looks really smooth and flawless, which jeans are not. So I really wanted to get across that kind of grainy texture that a jeans jacket does have. And I wanted to make sure to add all of the different hues so it would look as 3D and real as possible, as to not compromise the other features in the portrait. Those are just the different brushes I tried out, and the square one seemed to work really well. It kind of like muddied it all up and blurred it together and gave it some real grit. So that was fun to try and control. And then went back over it with more brushes to darken it up in certain areas and give it more form. I think I probably could have even done this even more, but for this painting, like, this was enough for me. And I moved back into the neck and lightening up certain areas. And then finally I was like, I'm ready now for the hair. We can do this. And so I was just adding more dark shades, like really dark browns, not quite blacks, because I heard you should never use black in a portrait because or just black, you shouldn't use just the black value in general because it kind of flattens everything. You should always use like really dark hues of different colours. Don't know if that's true. Someone can correct me if that's wrong. But here, yes, I just use like really dark browns and dark blues to kind of show the impression of like the kind of cloudy texture of her hair. I didn't know how I was really going to go in and do all of these curls individually. I knew I didn't want to do them all, like from head to toe individually. That would take a really long time. So I just did ones around the edges to kind of suggest that that's how the whole hair was. It was curly and ripply like this. And then I thought I could like grab a texture online, which is what I ended up doing in the end, and overlaid that over the colour to show the definition that I couldn't physically do by hand. I know people can do it by hand, but I'm just not very good at that yet. I'd have to look a bit more into how to actually draw curly hair in that sense. Like, drawing it strand by strand would just take an age. I can't even imagine how long that would take. So yeah, in the end, I grabbed this texture from online and overlaid it and, edited it a bit, made the contrast higher and made it black and white and made it the opacity, not the opacity, the transparency, made it lighter so that it would just blend a bit more seamlessly and seem like it was something that it was a part of the portrait rather than like a picture that I just grabbed and stuck on top. And I gave it a little crop that was similar to the image because you couldn't really see the top of her head and I didn't know how to go about finishing off the top of her head, so I was like, I'll just crop it. Crops make everything better. So that's what I went ahead and did. And then here I was just adding a little bit more detail to the lips. I guess I realised something that I had missed before. I think I thought it was a bit slanted, a bit sloped her lip. I think I'd, made it not, what am I saying, as round as it should be in one corner. So that's what I went back in and did. And then it was eyebrow time. Eyebrows are so much fun because they're just loads of little strands of hair. I always want to do them super early on in the process, but you can't. You have to really wait until the end when all the skin is done. So that's what I just did here. And then added a little bit more shading behind them so they looked a bit more fuller. So it's like doing makeup but on a portrait, which was fun because you could just erase it, not like in real life when you just get smudges all over your face and it's terrible. And then I started adding in the really final details of the nose ring and the choker. I've never even drawn facial jewelry before, so I really wanted to get that right so it didn't let down. Yeah, just didn't let down the overall her face. I wanted it to look 3D. In the picture it is also very subtle that you can hardly even see it's there. So I wanted to make sure that stood up as well in the portrait. And then finally the choker, which was the final piece. By this stage I was ready to stop. But I wanted to make sure I carried on being just as thorough with the choker as I was with everything else. So adding in the shading to try and show the form of it and how it curves around her neck. I didn't want it to seem like she was wearing, she's got quite a three-dimensional neck. Didn't want the choker to look super, super flat. So that's what I was doing here. And I knew it was going to be hard to add in the pattern that's on it, how it curves around and is also sloped because the choker isn't perfectly upright against her neck. So there was a few considerations there. And that's all what I added and made it so I was happy with it. And then the last bit, just added on the gems, the sequins. Now I wanted these to look as 3D as possible because they are hanging off of this also 3D object. But because they're so small, yeah, it was hard to mimic them exactly. And in the image, they're actually a bit blurred. So I was kind of using my own judgment here, trying to decide how it should be, but also stay true to the portrait. I'm showing the shadows against the skin. I'm not sure if I got the light source completely right in all of these, but I got it to a stage where I was happy with it, so that was enough for me. This gem was really hard to do. I'm not very good at drawing gems, it turns out. So that will be another video, just exploring gems and how to render different kinds of materials, I suppose. Oh, that could actually be quite good. Just try rendering different things. Yeah, so coming soon to the channel, rendering. And this is the final one. I was so happy once I got to this point. I think we were nearing 2 a.m. in the morning here, and I'm like, want it to be done. Don't want to go to bed until it's finished. So I got a reference for this one, so it could look a bit better than the last one. And that one turned out a lot better. So references, definitely references for the world. I shouldn't try making up stuff when I'm not sure. And yeah, that was it. That was the final piece. So I hope you enjoyed watching it. I know it was quite long, this one, so thanks for sticking with me if you've stuck with me so far. This is definitely, it was really, really fun to do. Definitely one of the things I'm most proud of that I've made thus far. So I'm really glad I did it, and I look forward to doing more stuff like it. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you, if not next week, just sometime soon in general. Bye!